Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome back. This is episode 3 of our series, The Rise of the Caliphate, chapter 1, Abubakr As-Siddique. In our last episode, we began talking about how Abu Bakr radiallahu anh, how he was elected as the Khalifa on the very same day the Prophet, peace be upon him, had passed away, and why, without a doubt, he was seen as the natural successor and the senior most person of the Prophet's companions. We spoke about his, a bit of his backstory, a bit of his, his life before Islam and how he embraced Islam amongst the earliest companions, and then his contributions. He was the first to recite publicly. He was, he had purchased many of the Sahaba who were being tortured, the slaves who were being persecuted. He purchased and set them free. And of course, he was there in the early days when the Prophet's own life was being threatened. He saved his life. We continue from there. We know that the day the title of As-Siddique, or the time when he was elevated to the status of the truthful one with regards to his iman and being given the title As-Siddique, was of course the incident of the Isra and the Mi'raj. And if we go back to Sirah, we know when the Prophet, peace be upon him, went on this amazing journey from Mecca to Jerusalem and from Jerusalem through the seven heavens, and he returned, when the news reached that the Prophet is claiming that he went on this fantastic journey, a non-Muslim, a pagan, comes to Abu Bakr and says, Abu Bakr, you are an intelligent man, you are a sensible person, surely now you must concede that your companion, that Muhammad, has sort of lost the plot. And Abu Bakr said, why? What's happened? And the man says, Muhammad claims that he went from Mecca to Jerusalem, went to meet Allah, and now he's returned. He left last night, and here he is in front of us the next day, having taken what would have been a month journey to Jerusalem and a month back. He's here amongst us. And Abu Bakr then says, did he really say that? And the person says, yes, that's what he claims. I mean, how can you believe this? And Abu Bakr said, if he said it, then it's true. Without any hesitation, subhanAllah, without any second thought. He didn't even speak to the Prophet ﷺ. He simply said, if Muhammad said he had gone on this journey, then it is true. Because I believe in something far greater than that. I believe that Allah, the Lord of the universe, has appointed him as a messenger. And that is what makes Abu Bakr radiallahu anh, Abu Bakr, and what makes him different to even Umar, to even the rest of the companions, is his undoubting nature. With his iman is unquestioning, unflinching, there isn't a shadow of a doubt. He's completely committed to Islam. And so this for him was, there is no doubt. And when the Prophet ﷺ heard that Abu Bakr's position was, if you said it, it is true, guaranteed, this is truth, that's when he received the title of As-Siddique. And we continue, and the next thing that really makes Abu Bakr special and unique is that, of course, that he was the one that the Prophet ﷺ had gone on hijrah to. So when the migration to Medina was in effect, Abu Bakr, like everybody else, was preparing to leave Mecca. When Abu Bakr had prepared to leave Mecca, the Prophet said to him, no, Abu Bakr, I want you to remain behind because I want you to accompany me. And the two of them went together. And of course, this was perhaps the most vulnerable the Prophet ﷺ had been in. And in fact, the Quraysh were ready to assassinate him. And the one and only person that the Prophet ﷺ brought into his confidence to go on this sort of secret mission was Abu Bakr. And Allah references this in the Quran. Allah says, إِلَّا تَنْصُرُوهُ فَقَدْ نَصَرَهُ اللَّهُ. Allah says to the people, if you were to not to help, whether you were to help Muhammad or not, then Allah has already helped him. إِذْ أَخْرَجَهُ الَّذِينَ كَفَرُوا, when he was expelled by those who disbelieve. ثَانِيَ اثْنَيْنِ إِذْ هُمَا فِي الْغَارِ, when the two of them were alone in the cave. Now who is the two? The Prophet and Abu Bakr. When the Prophet and Abu Bakr, the two of them, Allah calls him الثَّانِيَ اثْنَيْنِ, the second of the two. And that in itself, many scholars have explained in tafsir the fact that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that Abu Bakr is the second of the two. That it's almost like the Prophet and Abu Bakr are a unit. And Abu Bakr is the second. And what is the Khalifa except the second, the one that succeeds, who comes after the first. And so he is the second of the two. When they were alone in the cave, إِذْ يَقُولُ لِصَاحِبِهِ, when the Prophet said to his companion, his Sahabi, that's why Abu Bakr is called the Sahabi, when he said to his companion, لَا تَحْزَنْ إِنَّ اللَّهَ مَعَنَا, Oh, Abu Bakr, don't feel sad, don't worry, don't have any anxiety. Allah is with us, and Allah sent down Sakina and protect the two of them. And this is an amazing, the Quran that we read every single day. Allah mentions Abu Bakr was the one that was with him in the cave. Abu Bakr is the second of the two, and Abu Bakr is the companion of the Prophet ﷺ, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sent his Sakina upon them. Then, of course, after the Hijrah, they come to Medina. Of course, the whole Hijrah was planned by Abu Bakr. His own family participated. Abu Bakr financed the Hijrah. And so it was Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu who had strategically prepared this. In fact, even the preparations of meeting the Ansar. How did the Prophet ﷺ get to meet the different tribes? It was Abu Bakr who set up the meetings that the Prophet ﷺ would meet the different tribes, which eventually led to meeting the people of Medina. And so the Hijrah to Medina then happened. Once in Medina, of course, now that the state of Medina was established, Abu Bakr radiallahu anh he participated in every single battle. So when you look at the CV of a companion, you ask, were they of the early companions? Because Allah mentioned As-Sabiqun awwalun, the best of the best are those who became Muslim early. Abu Bakr was top three, first man. They were of the earliest companions. Abu Bakr was there. They went through the persecution. Abu Bakr suffered and struggled. Abu Bakr did the Hijrah. Abu Bakr then went to Badr. So every single tick box, you'd find that he was there. And not only was he present, but he would play a significant role in all these milestones. At the Battle of Badr, when the Prophet ﷺ was, really when he was unsure, what should we do? Should we fight or should we retreat? Because Badr wasn't planned. Abu Bakr was the first to stand up and says, Ya Rasulullah, let us go and let us fight. And who are they fighting? Is the Muhajirin fighting against the people of Mecca. Abu Bakr knows he will be going up against his own kith and kin. He's going up against his own family members. And he is the first to stand up and said, Ya Rasulullah, if it's battle, then let us go and we're going to fight. In fact, in Badr, one of his sons who had not yet embraced Islam said to Abu Bakr, I was at Badr and I avoided you. So many years later, his son who becomes Muslim, at the time of Badr, his son wasn't Muslim. He said to his father, at Badr, Dad, I saw you, but I avoided you. I didn't want to engage you in combat. And so therefore I avoided you. Abu Bakr said, if I saw you at Badr, I would not have avoided you. I would have engaged you in combat. So subhanAllah, Abu Bakr has no allegiance beyond his allegiance to Islam, to Allah and to his Rasul. Right? Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. That's Abu Bakr. Abu Bakr radiallahu anh, also in Badr, when the Prophet ﷺ had to decide what to do with the prisoners of war, he asked the opinion of Abu Bakr and Umar radiallahu anh. And of course, it was Abu Bakr who said, let us be merciful and forgive them. And they are our family members. And the Prophet ﷺ said this amazing statement. He said, oh Abu Bakr, you are like Ibrahim and you are like Nabi Isa. Where Nabi Isa, and we know, asks Allah to forgive. That Ya Allah, in Qiyamah, there's an ayah in the Quran when Nabi Isa will say to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala about the Christians that they are still your creation, Ya Allah. That if whatever sin they have done, ultimately, Ya Allah, you are still their Lord and you are merciful. As for Umar, who said, let us punish them and teach them a lesson, the Nabi says, Umar, you are like Nuh and Musa. So Nabi Nuh made dua, Ya Allah, destroy these people. And Nabi Musa made dua against Fir'aun. And so Abu Bakr had chosen a more softer approach, and the Prophet ﷺ had concurred and agreed with the softer approach. Then in the battle of the trench, or the battle of Uhud, the next battle, when the Prophet ﷺ was injured, Abu Bakr was the one that arrives on the scene to try and make sure that he's okay and try and support him. Abu Bakr also, when the Muslims when there was uncertainty, was the Prophet ﷺ alive or not, the Quraysh shout out and they say, is Muhammad alive? Tell us the truth. Is he alive or is he dead? No one responds. And then they shout out, is Abu Bakr alive? So the Quraysh knew that in the chain of command, the Nabi Sallam is the man in charge. He's the CEO, he's the leader. He's number two, his second in command is Abu Bakr. And when the Quraysh challenged the Muslims to come out after they had been injured, Abu Bakr steps up and he's about to go and engage the Quraysh, and the Prophet ﷺ grabs him and says, stay back. Let not the news of your death reach us. Meaning, we have just suffered a bit of a calamity. We cannot bear you dying as well. You're too valuable to us to lose. And so Abu Bakr is told to stay behind. Abu Bakr, of course, participated or was part of the Battle of Khandaq. He was there at the trench. He was also in the Treaty of Hudaybiyah, when the Muslims went and they entered the negotiations, there was this perhaps very unique moment of Abu Bakr where the man who was negotiating the contract for the Quraysh, and when he was discussing, and he says to the Nabi Sallam, I look around and I see your companions are a mishmash of different tribes. I see one Qurayshi, one Ansari, one Tamimi, all these, in other words, you've brought together the riff-raff and the scum of the world to support you. And in my opinion, he's saying, in my opinion, the minute things get tough, these guys will run and leave you alone. And when Abu Bakr heard that, Abu Bakr shouts out some very vulgar words, basically saying, go and XYZ your female idols, your idols, right? Abu Bakr swears at him. And the man says, who said that? He said, oh, Abu Bakr, is you. Well, you lent me some money back in the day. I owed you some money, so consider us even. Consider us even. MashaAllah. It just shows you, Abu Bakr's zeal and his protective nature when the idea of the Muslims deserting their Rasul was so offensive to Abu Bakr that he says these vulgarities. And also at the end of the treaty, we know that the treaty was very much biased against the Muslims. So much so that many of the Muslims felt cheated. And for Umar radiallahu anh, this was too much. And Umar goes to the Nabi Sallam and says, Ya Rasulullah, are we not on the truth? Are we not the Muslims? Are we not the good guys? And they're the bad guys? So how can you dishonor? How can we agree to a treaty that is so dishonorable to Islam? How can we, and Sayyidina Umar openly shows his dissatisfaction with the agreement. And the Prophet just says to Umar, I am the Rasul and I will do what is right. And the Prophet leaves. Then Umar goes to Abu Bakr and he says, Abu Bakr, how can you allow a treaty like this? And Abu Bakr is furious. He grabs Umar and he says to you, watch yourself. He is the Rasul. And if he said it, then he's going to be right. And if this is his decision, then there is no question. Again, the difference between Umar and Abu Bakr. With Abu Bakr, if he said it, then this is right. If Muhammad says the sky is green, then the sky is green. There is no doubt in my mind. And so while everybody had a bit of hesitation, Abu Bakr was the one that said, if this is what he agreed to, then this is the right way. And he had absolutely no reservations. We know that, so this is the Treaty of Hudaybiyah. Abu Bakr, of course, so he's at all these major events. He was at the Bayatul Ridwan when Allah mentions in the Quran, those who pledged you, Allah testifies that they are people of Iman. Abu Bakr was there at the Treaty of, at the Bayatul Ridwan. He was there at the conquest of Mecca. And other incidences, unique incidences throughout the Seerah that shows you his position and his status to the Prophet ﷺ. Once the Prophet was giving khutbah, and this is mentioned in the Quran, وَإِذَا رَأَوْا تِجَارَةً أَوْ لَهْوًا يَنْفَضُّوا إِلَيْهَا وَتَرَكُوكَ قَائِمًا. Allah says that when they see some merchandise or amusement, they run away and they go to and enjoy and they go to that enjoyment. So what happened? The Prophet was giving khutbah, it was Jumu'ah, and while he was giving the sermon, a caravan comes into Medina, and of course when the caravan comes in, it's your only opportunity to buy whatever specials are on offer. And many people got up from the masjid and they ran away. This must have been quite early when the people of Ansar were still learning about Islam, and they got up and a lot of people left. There was only a handful of companions that remained, around 17 of them, and it was Abu Bakr was one of those 17 that remained there. We know that also with regards to the marriage of the Prophet with Aisha, this brought them closer together, and some interesting examples of the engagement. Once Aisha radiallahu anha raised her voice in arguing with the Nabi Sallam. And when Abu Bakr came in, and he's said to Aisha, how dare you speak to the Prophet in this way? And he wanted to actually reprimand her. Then the Prophet intervened, and he said to Abu Bakr, no, I don't want you to harm Aisha. And then Abu Bakr steps back and he leaves. And very cute side note, after Abu Bakr leaves, the Prophet looks at Aisha and says, you see how I protected you? I saved you from him. But even though it's her dad, and that of course melted her heart. And then they started giggling and they started enjoying themselves. And Abu Bakr comes back and he says, allow me to be with you in your happiness as I was there in your problems. Another incident of Aisha radiallahu anha, we know that when they were on the journey, and she lost her necklace, and the whole caravan was stuck and everyone was searching throughout the night, the whole night into the morning, almost through Fajr, searching for Aisha's necklace. No water, and Aisha says that everyone was out. The Prophet stopped the whole caravan, and everyone is out in the middle of the night, 2-3 o'clock in the morning, searching for my necklace. Abu Bakr comes to her and he is furious. Abu Bakr is like so upset with her, and he's like, Omar, everyone is looking for your necklace. He's feeling so awkward, and he wants to poke her because he is like frustrated that she's caused the whole caravan to be the whole army to be delayed eventually. And then Salah comes, they have no wudu, and the waqt is going to be missed. Abu Bakr is like really panicking here. What's going on? Is my daughter that has caused all this headache? And then of course the ayat of tayammum are revealed, and the Prophet says to Abu Bakr, this is not the first time that through your family Allah has sent basically a blessing. Because of your family and through Aisha, Allah has given the whole ummah something with regards to a gift with regards to tayammum. And you have so a number of these incidences where it is Abu Bakr and his family that brings about goodness for the ummah. We have the incident of the slander of Aisha, and when Aisha was slandered, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala revealed ayat that exonerated her, and in those ayat Allah also mentions let not the one of virtue say to another person, say to another Muslim, I will not help you. What is this about? One of the people that was slandering Aisha was actually a relative of Abu Bakr, and Abu Bakr had supported this relative financially. And so when it came out that, oh my goodness, you were making up stories about my daughter, which was a complete lie, accusing her of zina, I'm never going to support you again. I want nothing to do with you. So Abu Bakr said, get lost, I want nothing to do with you. And then Allah revealed ayat saying, Abu Bakr, don't do this. And so why don't forgive the guy and have mercy on the guy? Don't you want Allah to forgive you? And so subhanallah, again, Allah is encouraging this higher level of iman over for Abu Bakr radiallahu anh. You have interesting interesting narrations which shows you Abu Bakr's superiority with regards to other companions. The Prophet ﷺ said one morning he was giving a sermon, and he asked, who today is fasting? And this is in the masjid, and Abu Bakr was amongst those who fasted. Then he said, who has attended a janazah today? And Abu Bakr said, me. And who fed a needy person? Who gave charity today? And Abu Bakr said, me. And the Prophet says, these actions are not joined in a person except that he will be into Jannah. So if a person on the same day fasts and gives charity and participates in a janazah, then this is an indication of a person of Jannah. And the Prophet was talking about the doors of Jannah and mentioning that there's a Jannah for Salah and a Jannah for fasting. And the Prophet said to Abu Bakr, and inshallah, I hope you will not enter from any of these doors, but all of them, all these doors would call you into these into Jannah. There was even between the best of the best, we see the difference between Abu Bakr and Umar. Umar is Umar, and he's the second caliph, but we begin to realize that between Umar and Abu Bakr, they were light years apart. Once Abu Bakr and Umar had an argument, and it even shows you these are just human people. They had an argument, and in the argument, Abu Bakr said something. He was wrong. Abu Bakr said something harsh to Umar. And when he realized he said that, Abu Bakr said to Umar, forgive me. I want you to pardon me. Or, give me maaf, as we would say, forgive me, pardon me. And Umar said, no, I'm not going to forgive you. If you really hurt my feelings, I don't want to forgive you. There's no forgiveness. And so Abu Bakr was so upset that Umar is not forgiving him that he runs to the Nabi Sallam, and Umar then follows. And when they get to the Prophet Sallam, the Prophet sees Abu Bakr is coming in a state. And he's saying, what is wrong? Who's upsetting you, Abu Bakr? Who's upsetting my companion? And the Prophet ﷺ, Abu Bakr explains, Ya Rasulullah, Umar and I had a bit of a disagreement. And in that, I said some harsh words. And then Umar didn't want to forgive me. I've asked him to forgive me. He doesn't want to forgive me. And when Umar comes, Umar sees that the Prophet is highly annoyed with Sayyidina Umar. The Prophet says, Abu Bakr, Allah has forgiven you. Allah has already forgiven you. And he looks at Umar and he says, and he's saying to everybody, the hadith we just mentioned earlier, that all of you all of you, when I came to you saying I'm a Nabi, you all had hesitations. And some of you said I'm a liar, except Abu Bakr. And Abu Bakr believed without hesitation. And he supported me with himself and his money. And so why do you not leave? Why do you annoy my Sahabi? Why do you annoy my Sahabi? And he's saying this repetitively until Abu Bakr, stands on his knees and he says, Ya Rasulullah, it was me. I am the one. I am the one. I was wrong and not Umar. I'm the one that's wrong. But the Prophet says, don't upset my companion, which showed you that with the Prophet ﷺ, there was a special link with Abu Bakr. At the final battle of the life of the Prophet ﷺ was the Battle of Tabuk, where everybody was encouraged to participate. And Umar has a very famous hadith, a well-known hadith. He says, like his whole life, he's been trying to compete with Abu Bakr, and he's always been second best. Abu Bakr is always one step ahead of him. But he said, today is the day I'm going to beat Abu Bakr. I'm going to really make a huge donation towards the army, such that it will put me maybe ahead. And so Umar goes and he empties his bank accounts, he sells his goods, and he takes half of everything he owns. And I want you and I to think about these. We say these words, but think about your pension, think about the house that you own, the car that you own. If you were to take half of all of it, half of every piece of wealth that you have, and you were to donate it to the masjid, how would you feel? Umar comes with half of everything and he donates half of it, and then Abu Bakr comes and he brings all of his wealth. So much that the Prophet is shocked. And the Prophet says to Abu Bakr, you've brought all your wealth. What did you leave for your family? You've left nothing. You've basically emptied every last cent and you're giving it in the path of Allah. And Abu Bakr said that I've left them with Allah and His Rasul. They have sufficient. And then Umar says to himself, I give up basically after today. After today, I realize I will never ever catch up to Abu Bakr. Abu Bakr is he's in a different league all of his own. And that is why there's a number of interesting narrations that the Prophet ﷺ mentions about, towards the end of his life, where the Prophet ﷺ gives, firstly when he was ill, he had appointed Abu Bakr to lead the salah of the Muslims. And when one salah, Abu Bakr was a bit late, and so when he arrived a bit late, Umar had already started leading the salah. Mid salah, the Prophet said, who is that leading the salah? Is it Umar? Tell him to stop. Umar, stop. Only Abu Bakr may lead the salah. Only this. And this is perhaps the greatest indication of his superiority and he being the successor to the Prophet ﷺ, was the fact when the Prophet ﷺ was too ill, no one had the right to stand in the mihrab. No one had the right to lead the salah except Abu Bakr. And the Prophet ﷺ had insisted Abu Bakr and only Abu Bakr may lead the salah. Also, when the Prophet ﷺ did not perform Hajj, the first Hajj, he wasn't performing Hajj, but there was a group of Muslims. The Prophet had appointed Abu Bakr as its leader and as the Amir of the Muslims on Hajj. No one else was given this honor except Abu Bakr. And then a day or two before he passes away, the Prophet ﷺ gives a speech. Now, many of the companions didn't realize this was actually like a farewell speech. And he was saying in that speech, he says, I have repaid everybody. If anyone has done me a favor, I've already repaid you. And he said, is there anyone that I owe money to? And is there anyone that I've hit? Here's my back, hit me. And I've repaid all of you. Whatever good you have done to me, I have repaid you. And then he looks at Abu Bakr, except Abu Bakr, for I cannot repay him. Allah is the only one that can repay him. And he says that if I could have taken a Khalil is your intimate, most closest companion on earth. And he said, if I could take anybody as a Khalil, I would have taken Abu Bakr as my Khalil. However, Allah has taken me as his Khalil. But we have the companionship and the brotherhood of Islam. In another hadith, of course, when the Prophet was asked, who do you love the most? He says, the Prophet said, Aisha. So he said, no, not that kind of love. That's between a man and a wife. Amongst the men, who do you love the most? He said, Abuha, her father. Abu Bakr is the one that I love the most. And in the hadith which really gives these 10 companions or a level of honor, or a hadith about people's position with Allah, Abu Bakr is always mentioned first in the people of those who have been given Jannah. So there's a very famous hadith where the Prophet ﷺ is at a garden and he's at a well, he's sitting with his legs, dangling in the well, and then the companion says, Ya Rasulullah, Abu Bakr has come to visit you. And the Prophet says, give Abu Bakr permission that he may enter. And when he comes, and tell him he will enter Jannah. He's of those who will enter Jannah. And Abu Bakr sat with him, on next to him on the well. Then Umar comes, and the Prophet says, tell Umar he may enter and he will be with us in Jannah. And then Umar comes and he sits at the well. And then Uthman comes and he says, tell Uthman Allah has promised him Jannah. When Uthman comes, there's no place to sit. So Uthman sits to one side, and it's the three. And again, here we see Abu Bakr has a special place with the Nabi Sallam, and Abu Bakr and Umar and the Nabi Sallam, the three of them have another special place, and Uthman is slightly behind them. Yet another hadith, so many hadith, where the Prophet ﷺ is with Abu Bakr and Umar and Uthman on the mountain and on Uhud, and while they are on it, the mountain begins to tremble, and the Prophet says to Uhud, Uhud, calm down, because on you is a Rasul, is a messenger, and a Siddique, Abu Bakr, and two shuhada, two people who will die as shaheed. And Umar and Uthman are both murdered as shuhada. And we'll talk about their death and their demise when we get there. So Abu Bakr was promised in many times that he is not only a person of Jannah, but he'll always be mentioned first. He's always first amongst those who would be mentioned as is Khalifa, or as those who will enter Jannah. And so, without a doubt, his status and his position within the Muslim community is unrivaled or unparalleled. And that is why on the morning, that Monday morning, the 12th of Rabi al-Awwal, when the Prophet had passed away, and everybody was shocked, hurt, confused, when they could not believe that the Prophet could have possibly passed away. This is before Saqifa now, before he was appointed as Khalifa. In that morning, it also shows you his leadership. When the whole Muslim community was falling apart, and Umar was running around, like a crazy person with a sword and saying, how dare you say he died? It's impossible. Muhammad can't die. You are all munafiqs, you are liars. And he's taking his sword out in the masjid. It's like our equivalent, somebody running around with a gun in the masjid. He's like so shocked, and he's out of himself with grief. Abu Bakr comes in and he calms the situation, and he gives such comforting words, and he says to the congregation, he says, whoever amongst you worship Muhammad, then verily Muhammad has passed away. But whoever worshipped Allah, Allah is alive and Allah will never die. That Islam continues. And then he recited the ayat, وَمَا مُحَمَّدٌ إِلَّا الرَّسُولُ, that Muhammad is only but a messenger. قَدْ خَلَتْ مِنْ قَبْلِهِ الرُّسُلُ, that before him there were messages came and went before him. So if he dies or is killed, will you then leave Islam? So Umar said, when he said those words, and the reality hit in that, of course, even Nabi Sallallahu would pass away, that no one is immortal. When the reality hit that death will even come to the Prophet, Umar collapsed, he dropped his sword, and it was Abu Bakr that gave the congregation, he gave sort of direction to the Ummah. This was before he even was elected as Khalifa. And so we get to see that without a doubt, he was the man for the occasion. That yes, as Umar had mentioned, the way he was selected, the procedure wasn't ideal. It wasn't his fault. The Ansar had the meeting that started the chain reaction, and no one prepared for the demise of the Nabi Sallam. It wasn't something Abu Bakr looked forward. It was instigating, but he found himself. Come the time. Cometh the time. Cometh the man. The occasion required someone to stand up, and so, without a doubt, he was the senior most companion. He was the Siddique. He was the man that the Nabi Sallam had always, groomed to be his successor. And so, when the community accepted Abu Bakr as the Khalifa, Abu Bakr radiallahu anh now is appointed as the Khalifa, and he gives an amazing speech. So, what is the speech that Abu Bakr radiallahu anh as the Khalifa? Abu Bakr radiallahu anh stands. This is his inauguration as the Khalifa. So basically a few hours after the death of Nabi Sallam, he's appointed as the Khalifa, and he stands and he gives the masjid is full, and Umar says, calling the people, he says, "O people, the affair is in the hands of the best of you. Allah has given the matter of leadership to the one who is the best amongst us. The companion, he is the Sahabi, as mentioned in the Quran, and he was the second, the Thani Ithnain. Again, these are all referencing the Quran. He is the second of the two that was in the cave. So come and give your oath of allegiance to him." And everybody came, and so the Muslims came, and they took his hand and gave the allegiance. You are our Amir, you are our leader. So this is how a Khalifa is appointed. And very simple, no pomp and ceremony. The people just say, we acknowledge you and we trust you with the authority of leadership. And so Abu Bakr then stands on the mimbar and he gives a very short, brief sermon, and he says, I have been given authority over you, and I am not the best of you. SubhanAllah, his humility. If I do well, then help me. Whatever good I do, support me, assist me in it. And if I do wrong, then correct me. Correct me. Truthfulness is a trust, and dishonesty is treachery. The weak among you are enormous in my sight. I am worried about the weak ones in my eyes. You are the people, the weak ones, the people who have a right over me. Those are my concerns. Until I have secured their rights, until I have protected their rights. If Allah wills, and the strong among you, those who have authority and power and wealth and prestige and privilege, those ones you are weak in my eyes until you give the rights of others their due. Meaning, and again, he's showing that my job as Khalifa is to ensure the rights of the weak are protected. He then says, no community gives up jihad except that Allah disgraces them, and never does immorality spread except that Allah sends down punishment. Obey me so long as I obey Allah and His Rasul. But if I disobey Allah and His Rasul, then you have no obedience to me. And then he says, arise and make your salah. May Allah have mercy upon you.